come on, be real. Where are you at in sales? And more important about where you're at, what new strategies are you implementing this year that you think are going to get you ahead? That's today on Sales Chatter.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Today I got two really good friends with me. These two gentlemen I've worked directly with, I've watched flourish, I've watched grow, and now they got a show of their own called the Logistics Lounge. So welcome Hunter and Rob in from the Logistics Lounge. So we're going to hang out on Sales Chatter today with y'all. Gents, welcome. How you guys doing?
Doing great, brother. It's great to be here, Dan. It's like we were talking about just a little bit ago. It is crazy to see how tight-knit this community is, and years later, here we are.
I know.
Glad to be here, brother.
You know what? It's amazing how many years have actually passed when you really think about it, right? There was like every time I go to look at something, it shifts my perspective because I'm like, that was 5 years ago. And I'm like, no, it couldn't have been 5 years ago. It was like, it's impossible. And then there's COVID and I was sick for a year, almost 2 years. So it's literally been almost 5 years. And I'm sitting there thinking, that's just so crazy to see. But you know what? I've watched the Logistics Lounge. You guys are hilarious. I love it. I love the chill aspect of it. And I think today's conversation, we were talking backstage and maybe we can ignite that fire again, Rob. We were talking backstage about how a lot of salespeople in this, and now we're starting to see it shift, but I can remember back a couple of years ago, it was almost as if every salesperson in the industry, they had this secret bullet that they were keeping so close to their chest. And they're like, no, I'm not sharing this with anyone because if I don't win, you're going to win. And then we started talking about the trillions of dollars in this industry and how many zeros that actually is. And for people to think that, I think is absolutely asinine. However, that's where we live in, brother. That's the nature of this industry. I think so many people keep so many things so close to their chest. What are you guys seeing out there?
I don't ask very many people what they do. I'll be honest in that sense. I'm fortunate enough to be somewhere we get a lot of advice from a great guy, but
you do.
Everyone right now is focused on that whole service aspect. That's something that everyone is driven this year. And now there's something else that has become trite. So I know what I'm doing in the new year, man. I'm completely shifting gears away from everything that I used to do as far as selling, and I'm trying to make it as anti-selling as possible.
Interesting. Yeah. So what's that's an interesting way to put it, Rob. What is the major shift that you're making to go from quote unquote selling to anti-selling?
Referrals. And I don't even mean like, Dan, you and I do business and you're like, dude, call so-and-so down the street, tell them, oh, Danny Deegs sent you over there. I'm just calling other people in the industry, man. They could be down the street, around the corner, say, hey, I do business with so-and-so in your industry. You know what I mean? And half the time they just, okay, hey, I'm not interested right now, but I'll definitely put you on my thing, or yeah, here's the information, let's see if we can do business together. So to me, that's anti-selling. It's just like when we did business with you, Dan, the whole thing was about like, dude, try not to sound salesy, mm-hmm. Just ease into conversation. And that's just my thing, man. Move away from, hey, I do logistics, I offer service. You can call me at 2:00 in the morning. I got a bunch of people that work for me, like that's become really the thing that everybody's doing. And so, yeah, that's my drive or my direction.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, that sell something else aspect of all things sales. What we do is the end result, but what we sell is something different, right? Like if you're selling freight, I honestly still think you're losing, and I think both of you have heard that me say that statement. I don't know how many times, but it's so true, man. Hunter, what are you doing that you find is a big shift from last year and the year before?
Well, definitely from 2023, it seems like, I mean, even leading into 2023, that relationships have kind of gone to the wayside compared to, let's talk rates or like service. It seems like Rob and I call them the COVID Crusaders, but this surplus of, hey, people are making money in the brokerage side of things, so why can't I? Without going through the trenches like we have.
Mm.
It takes years and years of really cutting your teeth and learning and making mistakes, and it's I think it's finally coming to a head. So on LinkedIn, my big goal for this year is not solidifying relationships. Or not soliciting relationships. It's solidifying relationships.
It's a good
So really, not being salesy, getting out there, putting myself on, with the lounge. I've learned an exponential amount of information just from talking to people in the industry, and it really helps, because people have contacted me, and we just have conversations. It's not, oh, hey, I have all these trucks in your area, I can move this lane for you, and it doesn't make a difference because you got 30 other people doing the same exact thing. So I think this year is really going to be about focusing back on these relationships, not just looking for the quick wins, looking for the easy freight, just trying to make $1 million per load. It's going to be the longevity. Enjoy the ride,
Yeah.
honestly. I mean, last year it went from bad to worse
Hmm.
and then worse again. So, um, definitely just going the extra mile, really proving yourself. And, that's my goal.
Yeah.
And also, like Rob said, referrals, really just utilizing what you have in your toolbox and grow it from there. Don't try to be Mr. Superman saying, "Hey, I can do everything under the sun" when it comes to freight,
Yeah, and
because that's
I see it
impossible.
also.
Nobody's an expert.
No, you're right, and everybody's got. I've almost been 3 decades in this industry, and I still learn every day. And that's not just one of these. Oh, I learn every. No, I actually learn something new every day, and I strive to find something new every day to learn. And I love what you guys are saying because there's this. I see a fundamental shift in our industry, right? I look at 2024 as the year of what's your number one thing you're good at, and how does that fit into the customer's goal setting experience and desire. And I think if we look at that, and I've interviewed enough traffic managers where they've said, and pretty much all of them use the same words, like, we can't be wrong. I think traffic managers know there's a shift coming. You look at, at the time of this recording, we're early January, and we've had 37,000 carriers leave the industry more in 2023 than came in. There's a deficit coming. Things are going to switch. We had on last week on our show with Dean Crook, we talked about markets not actually picking up yet, but when they do, and I think shippers know there's going to be a shift. Shippers know there's going to be a crunch at some point in time, and I think there's no better time than now. You hear a lot of people talk about the industry and like, oh, you know what, like it sucks and I'm having problems here. But now is one of the greatest times in our industry ever, because we've just finished one of the biggest roller coaster rides any shipper has ever been on. And if you're a shipper, that roller coaster ride means going from profitability to no profitability. And they don't want to be in that no profitability position. They want to be in that profitability position. And I think now, by reinforcing that in conversations, just saying, well, what's your plan when things turn? I mean, obviously, right now, if you're shipping half the product and you've got 5 carriers that do really well for you, why would you kick them out to put me in, who you don't even know who I am? You don't know how I serve, how I can help you, or how I can let you down. Let's call a spade a spade. And now we're sitting in this moment where it's, Rob, like you said, I'm not interested in now, but in the future, when we develop the relationship, how can we work together? And I'm actually finding I'm going in straight for that. And I'm getting great traction where I'm saying, listen, I understand now is not the right time, but I do want to do business with you if we connect and we can kind of we have some synergies together. Just let me know what the deal is, because I have customers right now where carriers are banging, like brokers, carriers banging down their doors, boys, and they're saying the same thing. Like, listen, I got 5 people that took care of me during tough times. I'm trying to keep everyone happy, and I think this is a real challenge for shippers these days, where they're struggling to keep their incumbents happy. But yet there's us calling up going, dude, I want your biz, man. How can we get together? How can we do something, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, like I said, Dan, I just think really moving away from what do you say, the typical stuff, man,
Yeah.
and touch on what Hunter said, solidifying relationships. Yeah, like that's always a given. A majority of my stuff that I do now, I know I started all of my stuff just load list, emails coming in, see if you could book this, and it could have been a list of 5 people or 50 people,
Yep.
but now I've got to where I just continue getting dedicated, stuff from them, even stuff that I may have to run on the spot market, but it's the same stuff every week. I get 2 loads out of this facility every single week. I just re-signed some contracts with a customer that we extended through May, and they even increased one of the lanes 2 days a week to a larger truck. And, I'll get a little bit more profit off of that. So solidifying them is good. And, you talked about figuring out what your strength is, and my strength is just talking. Just calling people. I like to focus on unique products. Like that's my thing. I don't like to go after stuff that a lot of other people go after, man. Produce, a lot of food, lumber, some steel. Like I don't do that. Steel, my customer that I get a lot of freight from, she's in the steel industry, but she makes a chemical that they use during smelting. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Like
Yep.
her dad is a literal genius and graduated from MIT back in like the 70s and came up with this patented formula that they use to allow steel to like melt down and adhere better. So that's what I mean in unique, and
Yeah.
those are the things that to me it's easy to talk about because I'm a geek about everything. Like I'm about to call a customer that manufactures syrup.
Yep.
Like I just ran across him, dude, and I'm like, I like syrup.
Yeah.
You know?
Syrup's good. I got 9 cavities. I love syrup,
Yeah.
man. We're good. Yeah. Yeah.
So, like to me, that's my gift is just talking to people about the things that they do. And my boss is one who taught me that is when you can get someone to just talk to you, like the rest just falls into place,
Mm-hmm.
like just call and say, hey, I ran across this, blah, 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 whatever your quick little pitch is, and just start asking them questions about their product. Like, oh, where all do you ship this stuff to? Like from this little factory you make or whatever. And so that's what I like to do. And to me, that goes with building a relationship because, like you said about these customers you have now, they've got people pounding down their door, and a majority of them are brokers.
Mm-hmm.
Even though carriers vastly outnumber brokers, the one thing that brokers have over carriers, and the largest point is time, and the largest factor is time.
Mm-hmm.
We have time to call people and find people to call and email and bother, and they do not. And and as we've said a couple times here, it's all the same thing. I've got trucks in this area, or what is your hardest lane to cover? Or, it's the same deal. And it's like, hey, freaking Jimmy called and asked me that question 6 months ago, and he's doing the hardest lane I had to cover. I don't know what to
Mm-hmm.
tell you.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And so,
I'm going to take
yeah.
away your biggest problem for you, and yes, all that
Yes,
other
yes.
crap.
Which,
Yeah.
which again was it's everything that we do in sales is brokers. I think once the idea is hatched, even the hey, I've got capacity, I've got assets, the whole sell yourself off as an asset based broker. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? Even though you're not. Great thing when everybody first came up with it, started rolling it out. But then when everyone started saying it, my favorite word, it became trite, or one of my favorite words. It just became trite.
Yep.
And then when everyone was, oh, like service, hey, you can call me 1 o'clock in the morning or so forth and so on, whatever. It was great. And then, you know what I mean? Like that's what I'm saying, all the ideas we come up with are awesome, at the time that we do it. But after a while, people get tired of hearing that same stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I also think this way, Dan, that even though I have learned I'm in sales, I still hate salespeople, bro. Like I do.
Well,
No,
you hate
no,
being sold to.
no,
No?
nobody likes someone calling them and bothering them about some dumb stuff. It's like,
Yep.
look, man, I've got enough going on right now. I really do not have time to sit here and go through this with you. And so, yeah, I that's a part of my thing too, is which is a holdback, but also to me like a plus because I get straight to the point and I, like I said, make it a normal conversation.
Mm. I love that you said that because that's one thing that um, took me so long to realize. But when I realized it, it's like I'll be working, I'll be making sales calls or doing sales emails, and then my phone will ring and it'll be some guy asking me if I want duct cleaning. And I get so frustrated. I'm like, are you kidding me? It's the work day. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, I just did that to like 60 people.
Yeah,
Right.
You guys me.
Yeah.
exactly,
And
exactly.
I'm like, why was I so mean? And I'm like, but it's like just when I'm not interested, click. And then I think to myself, wow, that just happened to me 10 times. And I got frustrated. Why is that? How dare you hang up on me? Right. And it's like, but you're outbound calling, you're disturbing somebody's time that they might be in the middle of something. And we all know, they've proven scientifically it's about 15 to 20 minutes to get back into your groove when something disrupts you, right? So
Hmm.
that disruption 15 times a day is actually a massive like a massive chunk of your productivity time, right? We've all heard the golden hours and all this other kind of stuff during the day. And it's really when we can sell. It's beginning of 2023, or when I actually got a little bit better in 2023 and I was able to start working again. I switched to all email. I actually don't make sales calls anymore. I send emails, and not that I'm afraid of sales calls. I love sales calls. But if my purpose of my initial sales call is to get a meeting, I can do that in so many other ways. And obviously the end result, the king is a conversation, because you can go back and forth and you can solve 15 things in 30 seconds as opposed to like 4 hours on text or 3 hours on email or whatever the variation is. But I'm constantly saying, like, listen, all I want to do is book 3-4 minutes with you. Just let's see if we can connect. Let's see if we actually have anything in common, if it's even worth having a conversation. Don't want to bug you on it, but I'm doing my job. You're doing your job. You have salespeople. Salespeople make the world go around. Let's call a spade, and move on from there.
Yeah. I'd say, talking about emails, definitely casting the net helps. But I think people, with like LinkedIn is the greatest tool in my mind for salespeople in these days. And not necessarily, oh, hey, I got this connection, I'm just going to make my pitch to every single person that's accepted it. No. Go check their page out, see what they're talking about, put engaging content out there, have conversations with them about that and blossom it naturally because, like, everybody can get a DAT, everybody can get a truckstop.com, everybody's got a TMS, everybody's got a company that has their backing. But, in all reality, like with the Logistics Lounge or this show, we're all, we don't want to talk about work really. And we know it's there, but like, let's talk about the industry. How's your dogs? Like, like what kind of sports do you like? Hey man, I see you're down in Florida. You got a beach house for me? Like, mix it up and get creative with it because, I got a call from one of the three named people, one of
One
those
of the
burgers.
three-letter
I've been telling them for
brokers.
the
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, they still think I'm living up in Montreal, but it's like, hey dude, I've given y'all the roadmap 4 different times. Like, just take my name off the list. But you know, it's definitely taking a turn. Everybody's doing the same thing. What was creative 3 years ago or what was working 3 years ago is not going to work today.
Yeah.
If you're not adapting with this industry, you're not going to develop. And to your point, Dan, how long have you been in this industry? Like 30 years?
Pretty close. Yeah. It's 29 years this year.
Yeah. So I mean, I guarantee you what was working 20 years ago is not working today.
Oh gosh, no.
I wish it would. I
No.
wish I could go to a warehouse and tell them, hey man, you need to pinwheel your pallets and, hey, make these changes. That would be sweet. And it's still out there. Like,
Yeah.
people like Jeff Dickinson, like his story is like something I aspire to do,
Yeah,
to
he's a
really go in there
solid
and
dude.
make a change, man. Like, and it's really, everybody's just going after a buck, but like that's why I love logistics. It's different every day,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't get bored with it. You know, like I don't feel like I'm working.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm hanging out with friends most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
and I call my customers my friends. And I'll, to Rob's point, like I'll call them up and just be like, "Hey, how's that new car doing? Like,
Yep.
how's the kids? You know,
Mm-hmm.
just have conversations with them
Yeah, not
because we're all going through
everything
the
needs
same
to
stuff.
revolve
Like,
around getting new business or more business. It's more how you doing today? Like how you doing? How are you really doing?
yeah,
Like what's going on, you know? You know, the LinkedIn thing I think is I mean the ability to gather information on LinkedIn is outstanding. One thing I've started to switch to on LinkedIn is I would look at the individuals I want to connect with, and I'm being straightforward. And in what I mean by that is if there's something down the line, I say, hey, listen, I'd love to connect, see if we are a fit, if we have some synergies. Down the line, I'd like to see about doing this, this, and this. Because I've found, and I don't know if you guys have found it, and again, right, most of the things we do as individuals is based on things we don't like happening to us, right? So you guys have probably seen a lot of the memes out there where as soon as you accept an invite, it's like all of a sudden you get bombarded with these messages from somebody, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I've had quite a few people connect, and we go through a conversation, and then at the end, it's like, hey, bang, and they hit me with a pitch, and I immediately stop and I go, okay, dude, like you knew that. Just be straightforward. Come out and tell me what it is. If it interests me, great. If it doesn't, let's move on. Because I'm not wasting my time going back and forth to be pitched when I'm thinking it's something different. Right. So after looking at that and realizing, like, man, this has happened, I don't know how many times now. Am I doing that to people? And so I switched up my mentality, and I'll send a message. Like if I'm trying to connect with somebody to get on a podcast or something, I'll listen to the podcast. I'll do my, I'll listen to it because I want to make sure that podcast is going to match my brand and, those kind of things. But I'll send a message saying, hey, well, listen to your show. Love your podcast. I'd love to connect and see if you're interested in X, Y, and Z. And I find that I'm getting a much better response because people actually have come back to me and said, you know what? Thank you. I appreciate you coming straight forward and saying, here's kind of the end result. Here's maybe one or two steps before that. But in the end, this is really what I'm looking for. And I think personally, and love your guys' take on it, I think personally, it's an honest and authentic approach because I am in sales. I have sales courses, I have software, I have things that sales reps use to scale their business. So, not that I'm coming forward and saying, hey, you're never going to be successful without this, but hey, here's some stepping stones that might work. Want to have a chat and see if we connect and see if we can move forward. And to me, it's eliminating all this BS back and forth until there's value to be added. If, like, for example, this person's doing $3 million a year in GP, they might not want training. So here I am trying to build a relationship with somebody that in the end, I don't want them to have the same feeling I had when I felt like people were having conversations with me just to pull information out of me instead of just saying, hey, can you help me with this? Does that make sense?
yeah, absolutely. It's
Yeah.
really, I mean, do your homework, and you know, if it seems like it'd be a good fit, you're not going to make a shot if you don't shoot. You
Well,
know,
that's it.
and that's yeah, pucks in net, man. Throw that goalie and see what.
There we go. Spoken like
Well,
somebody that spent some time in Canada. I love that.
I want to touch on what Hunter was saying, and about talking to people regular, getting to know them, being your friend. Same thing, you had kind of touched on too, Dan. And ironically, I was just talking to my pharma customer earlier today, and he was standing on the deck of him and his brother's little mini mansion, and he was like, "Dude," he's like, "I think I'm going to redo the pool this year." And I was like, "Yeah, what are you going to do?" And he's like, "I don't know. I think I'm going to rip it completely out and do something different." And he's like, "And I think maybe we'll turn the basketball court into something else." And I'm like, bro, I wish that was a problem I had in my life. Like, and he's a season ticket holder to like the Knicks, the Mets, I think the Giants, and he's like, dude, he's always calling me or sending me pictures. I'm getting trashed at the Giants game in my box. I'm like, dude, but it's cool to have a customer like that, man. He's a single guy, dude. But he's an amazing dude. He's one of those people who just sends me stuff. He's like, dude, just get it covered. I don't care. Just treat me right, be fair, and let me know when the thing's getting picked up. And he's another one of those that I'm getting referrals off of. Even though he's in the OTC part of the pharma industry, man. Like they got a good name. They obviously know people. So he's hooked me up with a few folks. And to also touch on your point that you're making is I think that doing your due diligence on people, LinkedIn is a great tool to do that. But and whether you're in your line of business, Dan, or a broker or whatever, it's a good place to gain information. And I think a mistake that a lot of brokers make, since that's what Hunter and I are, is they don't do that, even into the company. What I mean? They just kind of look it up, see what they make, give them a call. They may have a person they want to talk to, but they've not looked that person up on LinkedIn. I mean, I even go as far as if they post stuff, I scroll through their post.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because stuff like that gives you a feel for what they're into in the industry or
Yep.
personally or whatever, and like I said, when I call, I like to try to talk to people, personally. I also am a big geography guy. As a truck driver, I went to a lot of places. So I didn't go to Canada, so I can't relate with you. But I see someone live, in Kansas City. I'm like, well, do you live in Kansas or Missouri, or are you on the outskirts? So the due diligence thing, I think, goes a long way. And I feel that that's a part of the evolution I kind of talked about a little bit ago that people haven't caught on to. You know what I mean? That's one of the ruts we're still stuck in, is just, not really digging into them, fully doing the research and just calling. And I think that goes a long way. I mean, Dan, it. I mean, you can't just call someone and say, hey, I want to do this, this, and this for you. And they're like, dude, I have 2 employees, like you're going to be a complete waste of my time. I don't have the money to do business with you, man. And I've made that mistake, man. I've actually called companies that, dude, I just scrolled over their website and I'm like, holy shit, like this company's got to be pretty massive. And then I look them up and it's like, oh, they only have like 5 employees and a little bitty building. So they probably manufacture somewhere else and do small parcel. And I've been bothering this guy for 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, we might send a couple boxes out a week. That's about it.
Yeah.
I literally ran across one today, an athletic company. Man, you look them up, their website is like freaking Nike level. I mean, seriously, dude, it's good, amazing content, very well put together. Their LinkedIn is very well put together. They're all of it. But I did a Google search on them, a Google Maps search. I love Google Maps, bro. I love it. I love Google Maps when doing research. But dude, they have this little bitty tiny facility and it shows all these pictures of the inside of the facility. And I'm like, oh, they manufacture this stuff like on site in like little bitty quantities or custom orders. And I was like, well, I'll call and see. Sure enough, man, they say, hey, we usually ship small parcel. We do a lot of business with schools and they'll order for a team. We can just put that on a small pallet and ship it out. And I was like, okay, like that's what I figured. But it went to doing that due diligence, man. And again, I looked Google Maps and I love when they have pictures. I don't know if you may not do this. I don't know, Dan, you probably don't need to, but I love scrolling through pictures, especially if they have a large facility. Because, dude, it lets you know how many docks they have, like how large it is, what their stuff may be. And again, that goes into calling them, hey.
Dude, to touch on that too, Rob, I love reading the reviews because drivers love to spill their beans.
The funniest stuff, man.
Yeah, it's I can't tell you how many times prior to going to LinkedIn to look up customers and specifically contacts in locations, where sometimes I look at their posts and I'm like, yeah, no, I'm not interested in dealing with this person at all. Because people really show their true colors sometimes, right? Like when things are going, it's like, yeah, I'm not interested in dealing with an individual like this because I've got an ICP, a very specific ICP, right? So that gives you the ability also to disqualify prospects from your hunt, which opens up more time for you to qualify better prospects, right? So it's a beautiful catch 22, but there So here's one thing I want to throw out to you guys. Love your thoughts on it. I have a real challenge with doing too much research until I know if there's a fit. And I've said this before, and I know Jeff and I have gone back and forth on this many times because Jeff's a huge researcher. Like he makes sure he researches. And I said, Jeff, but why? Like if I'm calling somebody up and we have a connection, because I don't do business with a logo, I do business with you. Like, the three of us know each other through logos, but if we didn't like each other, we wouldn't be here right now. Let's call a spade a spade. Customers that I've had for decades, we like each other, regardless what logo I fly, we like each other. And so business is about individuals. It's not about logos. It's not about companies. It's not about websites. And I look at it and I say, okay, I know enough to understand their business at a very base level. But knowing their business at a base level and knowing the needs, desires, and KPIs, mandates, goals of the logistics division, the traffic division, the warehouse, whatever you want to call it, are sometimes very different. So I'll call people up or I'll email and I'll say, do you have a couple minutes? And we get on. And I say, okay, what do you know about us? I said, well, I know you're this, this, and this. I said, I've skimmed through your website. I really don't know much because until I know what your goals, your KPIs, your mandates are, I don't even know if I can help. And, you have calls where people are like, well, my mandate's to drop 10% off our freight budget this year. I'm like, well, I'm not your guy. So have a great day. Let's be bygones, right? I mean, we have a little bit more of a conversation. Like if they're paying, $2,500 for a lane that's really 15, well, I could take that 10% off and show them what real numbers are in the industry. But we also know way more companies these days have the same data we have to understand market rates. And I think traffic managers, companies have realized how important the logistics component of their business is. Where I don't think 5 years ago, 10 years ago, it like logistics was almost that the devil kind of thing, where it's like it's the ugly stepbrother that nobody really likes but is just there. If that makes sense to you guys. So it's like, to me, there's a fine line between using up your time wisely in research and just getting in touch with the individual and saying, hey, can we connect for 3 minutes? I just want to see if we will work well together. What do you guys think of that?
Yeah, absolutely. I can agree with that 100%. The logistics is always at the bottom of the budget, but we're the backbone of the company. Like if you're selling a product and you can't move it, then there's no reason to even go out there and sell it.
Yep.
But I mean, dude, I've dropped customers that they've given me all kinds of freight, but one thing goes wrong and they will be down your throat. Just giving. I mean, look, it's input versus yield. Because like we talked about before, this is a $1 trillion industry. Okay, like I can learn a lesson, cut my losses, I'll move on. But not there's an ass for every seat. If I can cuss on this show, but there's
it's a trucking show. We've never heard it before.
Like I said, man, my customers are my friends. So if I can't sit there and have yuck it up with you for an hour, just even if I'm not running a load that day, like probably not going to last that long. But I take that to heart, like because I'll have your back in the tough times, and I hope that you have my back in the tough times, and it's a mutual relationship. It's even with carriers, like going through droughts with rates or capacity. Like if someone's done me good, I'm going to go the extra mile to try and take care of them, even if I can't. And if I can't, then I will find someone else that can, or get them some additional resources. But it's really, I mean, you can't be selfish here. Like it's definitely a relationship driven game. And, definitely, you can't be Superman. Like I said before, you can't do everything. So definitely do what you can do.
Mm-hmm.
I think Hunter said it pretty well. I'll add, and I think this covers honestly pretty much everything we've touched on. Is I think honesty is a super big thing, and a lot of people say that they're honest. And what I mean by that is, I think part of building a relationship, sustaining a relationship, or or something that can even end a relationship, man, is honesty.
Mm-hmm.
Not putting the cart before the horse, as they say. You know what I mean? Putting all your eggs in one basket. It's always good to under promise and over deliver, on stuff, and being able to say, hey, I can't do this, I can do that. I think that's a stupid decision. I had a customer the other day. He's like, hey man, I want to put this on on 3 different flatbeds. And I looked at it, I was like, dude, that's dumb, man. Like, you could split those trucks in half if you just stack a few of these crates that you sent me, man. And he's like, no, I'm telling you, it needs to be 3 flatbeds. And I was like, dude, just let me send in 2. All right, just let me try. But the point was me being honest, saying, man, that's a dumb idea, and I hate to say he always thinks he's got it figured out and he's right, because all this stuff is dimension, and I'm always having to be honest. And another example is that same customer does a lot of stuff to the far north reaches of Canada because of what they do. And man, like, I had to straight, hey, I can't do it. I don't know anyone that can help you right now. So, but yeah, honesty, I think that's a key thing, man, in everything that we've covered today, and especially when it comes to the relationship side and being of value. I value people that are honest over everything, whether it's, honest in a good way or honest in a bad way. To me, even criticism is honesty to an extent. You know what I mean? I guess it just kind of depends on how you relay it to someone.
Absolutely. I love the way you wanted to finish that, brother. I think that's key.
And I would just end, because I think we're about to end the way. Are you about to end, Dan?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. I will just say, and this was kind of an undernote of what we were talking about this show is, I think evolution is going to be, a real key this year. And I know, it should be something every year, but I mean, a really strong type of evolution in any part, whether you're carrier sales or you're a broker, or even if you work for a carrier, and do something and sell something there, whatever it may be, is approaching it from a more personal level, and trying to get people to just talk and be themselves. And sorry, I'm not trying to do a plug, but it just helps with my point. Like on the lounge, man, our whole deal on there is just to show that people are normal folks.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? People are at home right now on a live stream with some dude rocking out on a freaking electric guitar on their TV in the background. Hunter.
That's Jerry Garcia.
Like
put some respect on that name.
Dude, you know what I mean? It's like either like that, you're like, dude, what band is that? You know what I mean? So yeah, getting people out of their shell and being personal, I think, is really the evolution we need to go. And I personally, I think that's the step we need to stay with, man. I mean, all this sales stuff is good, man, and having rebuttals, and that's great, but trying to be more personal about things, man. And as my boss likes to say, we all like to talk about ourselves, even though we don't think we do. If you just get someone talking in a normal conversation, they'll usually tell you everything you need to know if you just let them lead it in the right direction, man. Yeah. So yeah, that's my end, brother.
I love that. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here.
Dude, thanks for having us again, Dan. Can't wait to see you tomorrow.
Yeah.
Round 2, the electric boogaloo.
Can't wait, man. And have a fantastic rest of your day, bud.
You too.
Welcome to the HPLS podcast. Live, relevant, and high performance information, conversations, and education weekly.